Hi, this is your host Sayyam Pathak and welcome to our super popular yearly prediction video series. And today we have with us once again Saiyam Pathak, Principal Developer Advocate at Loft Labs. Saiyam, it's great to have you back on the show.
Again, good to be back here. Thank you for having me, Swapnil.
It's my pleasure. And today, this is the first time you and I are doing a prediction video series, so it's going to be exciting. Before I ask you to share your predictions, please quickly remind our viewers what is Loft Labs all about?
So, Loft Labs is the creator of very cool open source products, jsPolicy, vCluster, DevPod, improving the multi-tenancy space within the Kubernetes ecosystem, the developer experience space, and all those things.
Excellent. Thank you. Now it's time for you to grab your crystal ball. It's virtual, real, bare metal, whichever ball you have, and share your predictions with us.
So I think 2025, the mainstream thing that I want to mention is multi-tenancy going a long way. If you talk about one of the last KubeCons, which is KubeCon North America 2024, it was one of the key technology focus areas. So in one of the keynotes, it was mentioned that multi-tenancy and multi-cluster is one of the key technology areas, which is absolutely true. So multi-tenancy going mainstream in 2025 is something which definitely is there. People out there building IDPs, internet developer platforms. Everyone will definitely be kind of using vCluster solution to build their IDPs for easing out the Kubernetes cluster creation, reducing the cost, and all the other multi-tenancy benefits that you get. Along with that, I believe 2025 is the year of agentic AI. We have already saw one of the launches from OpenAI about the operator that they did. So I think the 2025, there will be a lot more AI agents. And some of the key projects, especially when we talk about the Kubernetes ecosystem, the native stuff like the dynamic resource allocation is obviously growing a lot. Then for scheduling workloads, you have Volcano and Q, which will again be a lot more used. And then you have Crew AI to write those agents, workflows. And then you have Kubeflow, which is a massive project in the CNCF ecosystem, which is very good for building out pipelines, Jupyter notebooks, serving the models or whatnot. Because I think in the end, any company who is doing AI, they also would need an internal developer platform or at least a platform to run those. And Kubernetes serves as a very good platform for running those AI workflows. So I think that along with some interesting stuff within Kubernetes also, we'll be seeing more and more, especially in the observability area with respect to the AI agents. And the last one is WebAssembly and sustainability. So we want more and more sustainability towards running our workload. So I am one of the CNCF tag sustainability leads. So sustainability is very close to my heart. So I think cost reduction and sustainability go like hand in hand. Because you save cost means you are reducing the number of workloads, or you are optimizing the resource utilization of your Kubernetes cluster, or you are reducing the number of Kubernetes clusters or nodes, which eventually means you are using less of the data center capacity. That means you are reducing the carbon footprint and building or running more sustainable Kubernetes environments in your workflow. So sustainability is one. And the projects like Kepler and Cube Green definitely are there to shine, with more and more projects coming in this particular space. And another one key is WebAssembly. So WebAssembly was talk of the town of 2024, and I don't think it's going away. It's even growing bigger and bigger. Last year, if you see some of the conferences like Wasm.io and WasmCon, there were a lot of adoptional talks, like how we have adopted WebAssembly to do this. There was a talk by Google folks, how they have integrated WebAssembly into all of their sheets, Google Earth, and all those areas. So I think we'll see more and more adoption of WebAssembly. And then again, combining it with the Kubernetes ecosystem, SpinCube was just accepted as CNCF sandbox project. So I think SpinCube lets you run your WebAssembly workloads along with your containerized workloads side by side. So that again will keep on evolving and developing along with all the component model and other stuff within the WebAssembly ecosystem. So yeah, these are my kind of predictions and stuff going mainstream in 2025.
Thanks for sharing these predictions. What kind of challenges you are see will emerge this year?
There will be more and more cost challenges and also security. So, for example, we have seen the rise of CVEs in the all the attacks that have been happening, because everything like more than 80% or even 90% of the stuff running around in the enterprise are based on top of open source. And as soon as there is a vulnerability in any of the libraries, dependencies, whatever that is, SDKs, it kind of boils down and hit the plates that stuff is going wrong and people panic. So I think that zero CVE base images are pretty critical. So we have to make sure, or the enterprises have to make sure, that their security posture is good with respect to Kubernetes. The benchmarks, the CIS benchmarks, they are adhering to all those security national guidelines. They are producing the SBOMs, scanning for the SBOMs, and utilizing those SBOMs in a neater way. So that plus the cost. So cost is a big part, because right now the challenge is not Kubernetes adoption. The challenges are more on the side of people have those Kubernetes clusters, but there are too many Kubernetes clusters now. Enterprises are dealing with the too many Kubernetes clusters problem. So which is where tools like OpenCost, which is also a CNCF incubating project, it comes into picture, and then vCluster that helps you in your multi-tenant Kubernetes cluster. So multi-tenancy, cost-saving tools, cost monitoring tools, these will play a key role in solving all these kind of challenges. So security and cost are main two areas where people will see a lot more challenges, and yes, innovation plus more adoption in this area.
And what are the things that you or even the community would love to see happen this year, but for sure what happened?
In the Kubernetes ecosystem, I think, or in the WebAssembly, I take two. The WebAssembly ecosystem moves quite like a bit slower side, because there are a lot of organizations and lot of structures involved to release something, like, for example, component model. So I think if we overcome, like, my wish is, like, if we can move things faster, like everybody wants to move things faster. So that's the thing. And in Kubernetes, if we have something, natively built in for some of the features of running the AI workloads, or for multi-tenancy, but that won't happen because Kubernetes had its SIG called SIG multi-tenancy that got shut down in 2023. So I don't think there is any chance of getting that SIG back into action. But I think the projects around the ecosystem will thrive, and that is where the whole CNCF landscape is about. You cannot fit everything within the Kubernetes ecosystem. But I'm not saying it is not growing. It is growing at a very good pace. If you see, every release is packed with alpha, beta, and graduated features, which is very, very good. So I think it makes sense to keep some of the things separate from the Kubernetes clusters, because then other people or other projects can work in conjunction with all these to make it a superpower.
Looking at these predictions, looking at these challenges, what is going to be the focus of Loft Labs this year?
I think there are a lot of focus areas for Loft Labs. So I can share some of the things. For example, we have launched something called integrations. For example, we have native KubeVirt integration, Cert Manager integration. You just have write 3 lines of file in the manifest in the vCluster specification file, and boom, you are able to sync the Cert Manager resources from the host cluster to the virtual cluster, and vice versa. Same for KubeVirt integration and all these integrations. So I think we are going big on creating more and more integrations that will help the enterprise adopt very easily the multi-tenancy solution. And also, in the long run, vCluster would want to conquer the whole multi-tenancy spectrum. So the whole multi-tenancy spectrum, along with the same CLI, same user experience, same vCluster, we would want to own all of the experience, whether it's hard multi-tenancy, whether it's soft multi-tenancy, whether it's middleware. So all sorts of multi-tenancy would be owning with a single vCluster CLI.
Saiyam, thank you so much for joining me today and share your predictions. Of course, I would love to have you again next year to check how many of your predictions turn out to be true, and then get the next set of predictions. But I really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me again, Swapnil, and talk to you soon.